Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Murray, and I'm the host of The Gift of Giving, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's episode. For those tuning in for the first time, just remember that this program is dedicated to volunteers who work for non-profits, foundations, and 501c3s here in the state of Nevada, making our world a brighter and better place. As you know, tomorrow we're going to be celebrating our nation's birthday. And the words of Emma Lazarus give us, you're tired, you're poor, and your huddled masses yearning to be free is as true today as it was way back when. Today we're very, very delighted to welcome as my guests, we have Cindy Trussell, the founder of Lighthouse Charities, and her special guest, Francois Merrick. And she is one of the beneficiaries of the program. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure having you, and thank you for what you're doing for the immigrants and the refugees that come into this country and in the resettlement programs and what you're doing to help them out. So let's start with you, Cindy. You're the founder of this organization. Give us a little bit of the history about it, when it was started, and what it actually does.
So in about 2014, I was involved in the community, working with different groups, trying to find something that had a little bit more meaning for me. I was raising my children. Many of them were growing up and leaving the coop, and I wanted to stay busy because that's what I like to do. And service has always been a huge part of my life. And so as I went out looking for opportunities to serve, I met many amazing individuals and groups that I served with for many months. But one thing that was consistent throughout those months that I was serving was I was going home upset. I was going home upset every night, and I would just roll these thoughts through my mind and through my head about all of the issues that were out in our community and in the world today, and nobody was really solving those problems. They were feeding those problems or distributing items, but nobody was really digging into the root of why. And I am a problem solver. That's what I've done throughout my life. I love to problem solve, and so I was on a mission to solve some of those issues. While discovering who I wanted to serve and how I wanted to give back in the community, I happened to be on social media and I saw a post from an elementary school. This was a counselor at one of the elementary schools on the east side of town, and she had put a post out right before the holidays that she needed help. There were many children in her school that were not coming to school with appropriate shoes, coats, and backpacks, school supplies. They were lacking, and she needed help. And almost then, I felt a light bulb moment that I needed to reach out to her. I could help with that. And the next day, we met, and I asked her a little bit about the school and who were these families and where were they coming from. And that's where I discovered the refugee population. About 40% of the children coming through the resettlement programs and coming into Las Vegas were attending that elementary school. And they were all being resettled and housed on the east side. And so I asked her, this school counselor, what can I do? If I had a magic wand, what could I do? And she says, you know what? A school pantry. That's what we need. And I'm like, well, that's easy. And so I went back to my network, and within 2 weeks, we took several truckloads and trailers of food and blankets and clothing, school supplies, coats. People were very generous. And we set up our first school pantry. I got a message later that evening of the wonderful families that had come to visit that pantry after it was set up, and it just touched my heart in a way that I almost felt like I had discovered my life's mission. And it touched me in a way that I don't think I can explain any other way than maybe having immigrated here to this country myself, knowing what it's like to try and rebuild your life and to start over. I wanted to be a part of that, to relieve suffering among this population. And that's where I met many amazing refugee families, families that were new to our community, and there were thousands coming into the Las Vegas community every year. So that's how I started with the school pantry. But what I discovered after just even a few months, after having built 8 more school pantries, I give away food today, but they're hungry again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how does that fix and solve a problem? And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel or duplicate what, was already being done in the community. I just needed to now be an advocate, be a voice for this community, and somehow find a way to serve them in a better way. Because they're not here for a handout. They want to come to this country and give back. They want to work hard. They just want opportunity. And so Lighthouse was built on that, providing opportunities to this population.
And we're going to be talking about some of those opportunities in the next section of this program, because you've created quite a few opportunities, interesting opportunities and worthwhile ones. And it's nice that you say that you're amazed at the amount of giving from the public, and I hear that a lot on this program. They're constantly amazed at how generous the people are.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear that. And before we go to Francoise, I did just want to mention one thing. You moved here from Australia,
I did.
and according to your website, you moved here because there was a 7-year drought, and it was tough. And you've moved here to Las Vegas, where it's been 20. You've had a drought for 20 years. I've lived here, and we've been on water rationing. So
Yeah. So my family in 1980. Well, I remember my parents, and I was almost 12 when I moved here to the United States.
Okay.
So I was a young child. But for years prior to that, my family had been suffering. The economy had been going in a downward turn because of the drought. Some of the businesses my father worked at had closed, and it was very difficult to make a living and take care of ourselves at that time. And so I just remember my parents keeping a lot of things from us as we were young kids, and I had 4 other siblings. But I remember the day vividly, like it was yesterday, when my parents sat us down and said, "Kids, we're going to sell our home. We're going to sell everything, and we're going to move to the United States." And as a young child, you're just like, holy cow. And honestly, all I cared about was Mickey Mouse, because I'd only ever seen it on TV, and I knew it was in the United States. And so I would get to meet Mickey Mouse, as crazy as that is. But as a young child, you don't bear the burden of that is carried around by adults, with what's happening.
Yes.
And so we came at a very young age, me and my siblings, and we settled in California. And I just remember the first 6 months, longer than that, maybe the first 18 months sleeping on floors. I remember the first kitchen table or dining room set that we had was donated 2x4s out of somebody's backyard. And so my dad was able to build a table, and we rebuilt our lives here, reinvented ourselves here. And my parents are some of the hardest working folks I've ever met or ever known. And so,
they've come to the right place because of the opportunities here and the rewards. So
absolutely.
Very compelling background story there. So, Francoise, let's go to you, because you've also had a compelling background. Now, you migrate here from Rwanda.
I am born in Congo.
Oh, you were in the Republic of Congo?
Yes.
Yes, obviously it used to be the Belgian Congo, then of course Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
So you were born there and you moved to Rwanda?
Yeah, and I moved to Rwanda in 1996. So in Rwanda, that's where I stayed a long time. Then I was born in Congo.
Okay.
So in Rwanda, that was a country who I had more peace than Congo, because I left Congo because the war. So people fighting, and they tell us to come in Rwanda and say, "Oh, that's your country where you belong to," because we were speaking Kinyarwanda. Our parents speak Kinyarwanda. And Congo, there is so many languages up there. So they say we need to be separate. The people who speak Kinyarwanda, they need to go in their country where they speak the same language. So at that time, that's where we moved Congo to Rwanda. So in Rwanda, we stay in a camp. So we could not move the way we were. It was like all of us we were living the same place, like each other.
Sure.
Like a 20 feet
Yes.
difference.
Wow.
Different. So we lived up there over 22 years. So with no food, nothing. So we had only help from the different country. They give us the different food, beans. So we received the food only one time a month.
Oh, good
And
grief.
the food was like little. And
Sure.
and we had to finish all of we had to finish the food they gave us for 1 month. If you finish them before, so you're gonna feel hungry.
I'm sure.
You're gonna stay hungry until the month it has to finish. So we stay at this life with them. So they gave us like what they had different company, the schools, and they give us the water company, the stuff like that. So they help us like a little, not much. So after that, we had the different countries who said, okay, we can help these people because they cannot stay at this life for their life. They cannot stay here. So we can help them to move the country for where they can live better.
Hold
So-
that thought, because we're going to take a brief sponsorship break. We're going to come back and find out how you picked America to come to. So please stay with us. We're going to take a brief sponsorship break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back with Cindy and Francoise.
Introducing Pacific Coast Capital, your partner in finance. We provide financing for your business. Speed, flexibility, and creativity are the foundation of our service. We'll help you navigate through change and opportunities. Our 90-plus years of experience ensures quick turnaround on loan decisions. Ride the wave to prosperity with us. Ready for new funding? Visit our website today at pacificcoastcap.com.
Welcome back, everyone. And I'd like to thank Pacific Coast Capital for sponsoring this program. Really appreciate their constant support every single week. And I'd like to welcome back our guests, Cindy and Francoise. And Francoise, we want to know from you, before we move into the programs that Lighthouse Charities have, how was it? Did you choose to come to America, or were you just part of a program that they said you're now going to go and live here in the United States? Or
So I didn't choose to come in the United States, but I like it too. But you cannot choose that; they choose for you.
okay,
So the people who help, they choose for you. They say, okay, you need to go on this country. That's where it will be a good place for you, to help you to go to school, to help you for all of your need. All of your needs. So I said, okay, I always like to live better than I was up there. Then
Sure.
that's how I
Yes.
come in this country.
it sounds like it's been. It sounds like you've done the transformation. You've really settled here, from what I've read and what I see your involvement with Lighthouse Charities. You've managed to assimilate pretty well, all things considered. You know, it's a whole different world in Africa.
Right.
I grew up there, so
Right.
I know. Now we'd like to talk about a lot of the programs that you do, that you've initiated to help all these immigrants assimilate into our way of life. And the first one I'd like to talk about is your English program, the ESL program, because I would imagine you get immigrants from so many different countries. Language has to be one of the major issues that you're dealing with every single day when somebody comes in. You're getting them from all continents. Lord knows how many different languages. Tell us a little bit about the English language program and how you get these individuals up to the level where you and I are communicating and Francois is now communicating.
So during the time that I was serving them from the school district in the school pantries, many of the families were asking me to help them. And especially the parents, the children, they go to school and they learn English very quickly and they can adapt just like I did when I, arrived here to the United States. But sometimes the mom, especially the female in the family, gets kind of left behind. I wanted to offer help and support to those individuals, those amazing women that I was becoming very close to and friends with, and we definitely struggled with communicating. To put it lightly, I mean, we would use picture books. We would use Google Translate as far as it worked. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. But my heart just grew bigger and bigger as I got to know a little bit more about their backgrounds and their stories. I actually had to reach out to a friend of mine at my church and ask them if we could use the church building that was vacant at the time on the west side, if we could hold classes there. And then I had RTC donate a shuttle bus, and I would go and pick those buses up, or pick up those individuals in this shuttle bus. And so when we got that shuttle bus, I was bus driving all over town, and we would pick up the women and even their children, because their children wanted to learn. We did that for many, many months. Another program that we had started at Lighthouse was our Nefasi Program.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, well, that apparently was the first program. So let's talk a little bit about the Nefasi program, and then I'll talk about the others once you finish
Perfect.
with the Nefasi.
The Nefasi program actually inspired the ESL program. When I discovered all of the amazing talents that these women had, but they were considered unemployable. To you and I, we take those things for granted, right? That we can fill out a resume and use email and pick up the phone and make a phone call. But these families struggled with those things, and they didn't always have access to telephone or computers and internet. And so knowing the challenges, I'm like, how can I help these families? At the time, I had met a woman. I was actually distributing food at their complex every summer, and I would go there and she would just smile at me. And wonderful, wonderful woman, and beautiful woman. Her name was Suzanne. And she had 2 young children, and she would just watch me furnish some of the apartments. Even Francois knows about this amazing woman. And I became very close with her children, and they would learn English words, and we'd start talking. But after months, at the end of that summer, they finally dragged me into their apartment. And when I went into their apartment and I discovered that they were sleeping on floors, it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart, because she didn't have the language where she could communicate with me to tell me what she needed. She would pick up some food items, but she didn't do more than that. And I went home and did the ugly cry, I think, for hours that night, because I wanted to help her. And how could I do that? At the time, I didn't know. I started reaching out and doing research online about the women from Africa and some of their talents and skills, and I learned that they are very good artisans. They are good with their hands. They're good with jewelry making, and sometimes sewing, embroidery, woodworking, pottery, painting. And that's how Nefasi was born. I actually named it after, in the Swahili language, it means opportunity.
Yes.
After I went back and approached Suzanne, I found out that she was deaf and mute, and that was one of the reasons she couldn't communicate with me at all. I had never learned sign language even in her own country. And so I wanted to find a way to employ her. So after doing research, we discovered that the women in Africa would make these paper beads. And they're made out of just throwaway paper, magazines, old paper, and we would take that paper and wind it up on a little toothpick, seal it with some lacquer, And then I taught Suzanne how to do that. And before I knew it, it took months, even to teach her how to use scissors. But after those months, it was so gratifying to seeing all of the beautiful necklaces that she was making. And then
Yes.
I would take those and sell them online.
She's giving back.
Yes, and so
Yes.
that's how the Nefasi program started.
That's a cool program. And you also have a frosted bakery, and you serve breakfast and lunch there.
We do.
So let's talk about the frosted bakery and how you managed to get some of these resettlement individuals into this frosted bakery. Do they actually do the baking themselves?
Yeah, they for sure. In fact, right now we have Ludmila. She's from Ukraine, and she had fled the war with her two daughters, left her husband behind, and now she's running our bakery. The bakery was inspired again from these women. Every program at Lighthouse is inspired by the women. I listen to them when they talk. I listen to what they know how to do, their skills, their dreams, what they love to do, and I try to build a program around that, because then I got skin in the game, right? They're invested, and so the bakery came after I had met a young woman from Cuba, and she had walked in our doors, and she had gotten her culinary training in Spain, but had escaped her country with her two sons because of the violence and the terrible things that were happening in Cuba at the time. And so she would cook and bake for me every day. And I had to tell her, I was just joking about it. I'm like, someday you need to have a bakery. And ever since I had verbally said that to her out loud, I started thinking, you know what, that's a really important skill that a lot of these women have. So I went on Marketplace and bought a commercial oven, a used one, and I set it up in the back, and I just let her bake. And before I knew it, we had gotten or gained 2 contracts with 2 private schools to make their school lunches. We did that for 2 years, and during that time, we were able to train 7 bakers and help them get their food handler's license so that they could then move on to a job in food. And so it was an amazing program that now has kind of come to fruition. We started and opened Frosted Bakery in 2021, and we won the best cinnamon roll and best brownie in Vegas the first year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about Frosted.
Frosted Bakery. Congratulations on that. That's no small achievement either.
Yeah.
And Francoise, let's turn to you now, because you're very involved in, there's a new program that you started up recently, I guess, called the Gardening Program, and you're very heavily involved in that?
About the garden?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, when I met Cindy for the first time, it was my blessing day. So I could even speak English, even one word. And I heard about Cindy. She has a English program. Then I said, I can go up there and maybe they can help me. She's the one who helped me to learn English. She's the one who I started the life in this country with Cindy. So this garden program, when I had a baby and I stopped working with her, and a few months later I was into, right now I am working on garden. I am back to Cindy. So it's a long
journey.
It's a long story between me and Cindy. Because right now I am doing a garden, but before that, such a blessing I had with Cindy, because she's the one who I met before I work everywhere, or I can be able to communicate to everyone.
That's amazing.
So and now, even my English right now, I am so impressed to her, because she's the one who teach me on her program every day English, and I work with her. I become manager on her company.
Well,
I found love,
Sure. Well, for somebody that came here and couldn't speak one word of English, you're doing pretty darn good now. So
Yeah, and when for my first time I came here, I was so nervous. Then I found comfort from Cindy, and I found love from her. Right now, everything I have, love, comfort to be. She helped everyone to be comfort and to be happy, because from the different country, as my country, we were like think like we're not gonna find love, we're not gonna be happy, we're not gonna find. So we found everything right there where Cindy's working. She was a good mom. She was like, she helped everyone. She don't even, as I told you, in our country, they said, you need to go in your country, in this country, and you, because you speak this language. All of that was in our mind. But when we found Cindy, I can see how Cindy, she has big hug to everyone. She take care of everyone. She don't even choose this one need to, like a good mom.
yes, that's
So on a
that's
garden,
a wonderful
right?
message.
Yeah,
That's-
right now I am doing the garden. I love that too.
Hold that thought. We're going to come right back. We're just going to take a very, very brief sponsorship break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Individual investors use IRAs and trust accounts. Employers use 401ks, 403bs, and corporate accounts. As a full-service financial institution, we at Lucia Capital Group help individuals and families as they work towards achieving their goals, whether it's managing your investments, implementing income and tax strategies, or managing risks towards enjoying a steady cash flow in retirement without the worry of the stock market volatility. Lucia Capital Group has a strategy for you. We also help employers manage employee benefits such as 401ks, 403bs, disability, life insurance, and so much more. Lucia Capital Group has served the Las Vegas area for more than 20 years. You should not let the volatility of the stock market determine your retirement future. I'm Joshua Dowd. Whether you're an individual investor looking to manage your nest egg, or an employer looking to offer new benefits or manage an existing plan, we can help. Call me today for your free consultation. 702-508-6421. That's 702-508-6421.
Welcome back, everyone, and I'd like to thank Joshua Darden from Lucia Capital Group for sponsoring this program. For companies with 401ks or individuals, if you need them reviewed, please reach out to Joshua Darden at Lucia Capital. He's the best. And we'd like to welcome back Cindy and Francoise from Lighthouse Charities. And thank you, Francoise, for that very, very touching story. My sense is you speaking for a lot of these immigrant families, these asylum seekers, or refugees, resettlement programs that have come through Lighthouse Charities. I think you speak for a lot of the people there with what Cindy has given out and has initiated. And it's nice you stay with the program and offered your support.
I want tissue.
And now you need a tissue? That's okay.
I'm okay.
You're all right?
I'm gonna be okay, yeah.
Be okay.
That's touching hard. Always when I think about Cindy's work, it touched my heart.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, because when you
Yeah.
cease to cry, it means your heart's turned to stone, and we don't want that to happen. Okay? So thank you for what you brought to this program and for the education that you're giving our viewers and myself for everything that you've done.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
Now, you have a corner market too. Would you like to talk a little bit, Cindy, about the corner market?
Yeah, so food is an important part of rebuilding your life here, right? We all connect with food. We all need the basic things, food, shelter, clothing. So those are always things that we provided at our nonprofit, but it wasn't my focus. But over the years, I have learned that one of the most important things to bring peace and comfort to somebody is food. I remember even myself, I was a single mom for 11 years, and if I had food on the table for my children, didn't matter what was happening outside of my home. If I had food for the family, everything was going to be fine. And so I knew that that was important, and I still needed to provide that. But over the years, doing the food distribution to the thousands of families that we do every month, I was trying to figure out a way to do it better, to find culturally specific foods to stock and give them a dignified shopping experience as they came into Lighthouse, rather than just standing in a food line or asking for a grocery bag full of food. And so we have set up a corner market with the help of, generous individuals in our community, and with the help of Three Square, our, amazing organization here in town. They helped us set up a small corner of our warehouse, and it's a beautiful little space. You walk in, it looks like a little tiny miniature market, and the families are able to shop for culturally specific foods like pastas and rice and dry beans and fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that, milk and dairy items. And so they can come in and gather those items that they need to feed their children.
Is that where most of your food comes from, those Three Square, or do you get some corporate donors and individual donations? Or?
We do, multiple groups, Three Square being the largest, the food pantry here in Las Vegas, and then other groups too have often donated, and they give quite often to help us stock the market and keep it stocked for families that come in every day.
So, okay, and so that's so how many families do you feed a month, would you say?
Well, in this particular little corner market, 650 families shop in that market every single month. We actually feed in upwards of 8,000 every month during the other distribution times. We also distribute at some of the refugee populated complexes where they live. So we actually do a food distribution in one of the apartment complexes where there's several hundred families that are resettled, and some of the neighboring apartments around that particular property, they come and get food once a month. And then we also every Thursday do a public distribution where anyone that is in need or food insecure can come in and get some help.
How many countries have you helped refugees in their resettlement programs? Approximately how many countries? Have you any idea across the globe?
Not really. I would just say all of them.
Yes, different countries.
But certainly from all continents, I would imagine.
Yes.
Africa and Europe and
What's interesting
South
about the
America.
work that I do, we see immigrants all the time. They'll come in. In fact, we had a family from Portugal just 2 days ago, and I know Portugal they're not under, any sort of, distress, but immigrants come into our doors all the time. They know they can find support and refuge there and, help. And so we keep our doors open to all of those that need help in the community, not just even the refugee population.
But that's your focus, though, is the refugee and the resettlement.
Yeah.
That's what triggered off the foundation.
Absolutely.
I would imagine there's a lot of volunteers in your organization, or you have a core number of volunteers. Are you looking for more volunteers to help out?
Volunteers is what we build every program around. We truly believe in you as an individual coming in and having an experience, not just going into a warehouse and sorting bags of clothes or putting an apple into a bag. We build our programs around volunteerism. So you get to come in and actually work side by side with amazing women like Francoise. Get to know them. You get to be friends with them, become connected with them. We are human. We connect with other humans, and that's super important in volunteerism. And so we take pride that we can offer that kind of a volunteer experience. And in fact, we have very actively about 10 to 12 volunteers that just volunteer daily in our ESL programs. And so they get to come in and work side by side on helping somebody learn to read and even to write their name for the first time in the English language. And so that's very fulfilling as a volunteer to get to come in and see somebody grow and help reach their goal of self-sufficiency and rebuild their life here.
Well, I think Francoise is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you how you've benefited from being involved with Lighthouse Charities, but You gave us a very touching and heartwarming and uplifting experience as to how that
benefit
came
is-
about. So anybody else who wants to benefit or who could use your services, would you like to give us out your website address and phone number of how people can reach out to you if they want to get involved and learn more about your organization, because there's a wealth of information out on your website.
Absolutely. In fact, our website is www.lighthousecharities.net. You can go onto the website and sign up for a volunteer opportunity. You can also call the phone number that's listed on the homepage. And we look forward to seeing you and having you involved in this amazing work.
Yay.
So I'd like to thank both of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and sharing with us what you do, what you have founded, the benefits you've received from this country and from Lighthouse Charities. And I think you speak for many, many immigrants into this country. There's 3 of us sitting here at the table, and I think we all have felt the benefits of living in America as we celebrate our nation's birthday tomorrow. And
Thank you.
so thank you for sharing the day with us.
Thank you for
Thank
today.
you.
And I'd also like to thank our show's producer and station owner, John Stiles, for allowing me to host this program. I specifically also like to thank our sponsors, Pacific Coast Capital and Lucia Capital Group, and my business partner, Ralph Champion. You'll hear his message right at the end of this program. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. I hope you will join us next week. And in the meantime, stay safe, be kind to one another, and we'll see you next week. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at Stephen@thegiftofgiving.Vegas. Thanks again for joining us. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Mr. R.J. Champion is proud to sponsor WWDB-TV's series, The Gift of Giving, and wishes the program much success. Congratulations and gratitude to the featured guests and the organizations they represent. Our community is well served by your tireless efforts to make Nevada a better state for all its residents.